This video is for parents and carers with adults with learning disabilities, autism, non-verbal. I felt I needed to make this because I haven't personally come across many videos for parents who are supporting adults with autism and learning disabilities and non-verbal. So yes, you guys are my family, by the way, if you're out there. Okay, so yeah, here we go. So I'll be discussing some of the experiences that I go through, and I'll also be discussing some of the changes that the government is proposing in the Mental Health Act. So yeah, we're just going to continue now. So apparently the government has promised to go ahead with its proposal to change the mental health law in England and Wales, importantly for autistic people. Now this includes the following: finding the best way to change the definition of mental disorder in the Mental Health Act so it's no longer including autism. I mean, this is long coming, you know, given that the Winterbourne abuse happened in 2015. I just think this is, you know, appalling that it took so long. It's but anyway, I'm so glad it's now here, and this will help, you know, over 1,000 individuals who are on the spectrum who have been institutionalized wrongly and whose rights and needs have been stripped away from them. And to think that these people were, you know, put into these places by their local authority or their doctors, you know, people they trusted. And the families probably couldn't really do much. That's usually the case because they don't know the laws. So sadly, these individuals are locked up unnecessarily, and it is worrying that given that we've got COVID and social workers aren't working in offices, they're working from home currently, and social workers are also very stretched and few and far between. So I don't know how they're carrying out review meetings for these individuals. I am aware that the CCG monitor these organisations, but I still don't think it's enough. I mean, considering it was Panorama who actually, you know, exposed the abuse and the neglect of vulnerable individuals of our society is appalling, and quite frankly reflective of professionals as well. So yeah, I'm glad that this is happening, and if it was up to me, I'd just go there and release every single one of these vulnerable people from the torture that they're in, given that their support workers and their nurses are the people who are advocating on their behalf, which probably is highly likely biased and not reflecting their true needs and opinions. But yeah, I'm so glad that's happening. So the second one is introducing a duty to provide adequate community services. Oh boy, this was long in the tooth, wasn't it? I mean, given that they would just parcel off your kids to residential homes and institutes, and that culture went on forever, and nobody ever realized that there were people who had these kind of challenges or needs in the community, so they never had those services. They only had basic services. Generally, at the moment, from my own personal experiences, the community services that they do have are predominantly either for children or for the extremely elderly. There's nothing for the middle. It's just one extreme to the other. There is no kind of broader spectrum to meet so many people's needs. And that proves how people think, how these local authorities thought processes when it comes to providing young people and young adults with support, even through their 30s and 40s. They're still young anyway. But what I'm trying to say is that there isn't much out there. So I'm hoping that this is going to change everything. This is going to be a game changer, you know, with services. I hope they'll have more clubs and, you know, activity, leisure, swimming, work experience that people, you know, with learning disabilities can access. I hope it's not just these community services where they just go there and just paint a picture and come home. No, it needs to be more than that. You know, they treat, the thing is, sadly, many people within the local authority services tend to have community services that cater in a certain way, because they're so used to catering for elderly people or for youngsters. That's the kind of activities they use. So let's say, for example, for the elderly, they'll take them to the park. For the youngsters, they'll get them to paint or, you know, do some puzzles. But what these adults need is something that's going to be intensive, routine, and a structure for daily living. Something that's going to improve their lifestyle and give them life skills. And this is what I think they need to think about carefully, because I'm currently struggling with that, because there's nothing in my local authority, you know, local community that can actually support my son, because at the moment I'm getting nothing from social services. It's very restrictive in what they're giving me, because they haven't got much. And instead of actually looking at themselves, that they need to expand their horizons when it comes to services and training and, you know, budgets, etc., they're still limited, especially in my borough. They're just like from the dark ages. But yeah, this is great, this is happening. But what's really key, we need to know when these things are going to be implemented. We don't want it to be like when Tony Blair was discussing, oh yeah, we're going to have the Act for Autism, you know, there's going to be a policy for autistic people back in 2008. And it didn't manifest until 2012, because local authorities said, hey, we can't do it in 2 years, give us 5 years and then we can get something done. And even then they still haven't got their act together, because they don't understand autism. And they kind of struggle. There's a big struggle between understanding autism and mental health, because in the past it used to be the lines were really blurred. They didn't now, given that they're actually going to, you know, define the definition and erase autism out of that. That's brilliant. Because, you know, I mean, from my own personal experience, you know, my son was nearly sectioned as well, because all he was doing is he was trying to communicate his physical health. And they assumed that he was like having a fit, a psychotic fit. I mean, it was ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, and the third proposal is making care and treatment review actions enforceable, which is great, because like I was just touching on now, that, you know, confusing mental health with physical health is a completely ignorant way of supporting individuals on the spectrum. And that's pretty much what doctors did. They felt that autistic people, I almost get the feeling from my own experience that they felt that autistic people were just robots, and their behaviour was neurological. They didn't really give a damn about their physical health. They didn't set aside proper health action plans. I mean, now they're getting into it now. You know, they understand somewhat of a better picture of how to support them, but they're still far gone. I mean, I find myself still being challenged by social workers who don't understand what I'm trying to communicate, because they're not at that level. And that means that their training must be really outdated, and it needs to be changed. They also need to implement this as well in the, well, I think they should, in the proposal, that, you know, local authorities need to update their staff's training. Yeah, but I hope this all goes ahead, and I hope we're given some sort of insight as to when this is going to happen. But yeah, this was this has been, I think this has already been enforced since July, but judging by my local authority, I don't see any difference in the way they act. So maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks. Bye.